We're moving on to another big problem in the world that took the focus and all over the media and all over the world. One of the enduring images of 2015 will be the picture of a young Syrian refugee laying face down on a beach in Turkey after his boat capsized while trying to reach Europe. It is a journey attempted by well over 1 million people this year as the influx of migrants continues to shake the very foundations of the European Union.
The makeup of society in Europe is changing. With over 1 million migrants arriving in the continent in 2015, European culture is set to change. Germany is already moving forward with unique schools for the children of migrants in order to incorporate them into German society. This year saw marches in Germany opposing so-called Islamization, outlining the palpable fear of a change in demography. Germany is likely trying to avoid the mistake France made, where migrants felt disenfranchised for generations, causing extremism to grow and eventually Islamophobia. In this respect, Germany too is a pioneer in its outlook on migration, and it remains to be seen whether it will succeed in incorporating migrants into its social fabric, or how the migrants will in turn change its society.
The solutions for global stability in the post-World War II era seems to be collapsing one after the other. Decolonized African nations are still struggling to get back on their feet. In the Far East, territorial disputes are only intensifying, and even the brightest vision of them all, the European Union, is slowly falling apart. EU leaders had to face many challenges this year, from the Greek drama that shocked the Eurozone to the growing terror threat jeopardizing the concept of the Schengen zone, all the way to the influx of migrants, which perhaps more than any other issue revealed the substantial differences among the bloc's members, and the dream of ultimate unity is fading away.
In July 2015, the eyes of the world were drawn to little Reem, a 14-year-old Palestinian girl facing deportation from Germany. During an encounter, Chancellor Angela Merkel stood firm when Reem burst into tears.
I understand that, yet sometimes politics is hard. When you stand in front of me, you're a very nice person. But you know, in Palestinian refugees camp in Lebanon, there are thousands and thousands of people like you.
2015 will be remembered as the year of the migrants, when Europe faced its biggest migration crisis since the end of World War II. According to the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, over 1 million migrants arrived by sea to Europe in 2015. 84% of them came from the world's top refugee-producing countries, with Syria, Afghanistan and Somalia topping the list. While it has been dubbed a migrant wave, each and every migrant has his own particular story. Take, for example, Ahmed, Elia and their baby Adam. From the outside, they look like a regular middle-class Western family. Last summer, they fled Iraq and found their way to the Netherlands after traveling through 7 countries. Now they live in an exhibition hall that houses 800 people. For them, the journey has only just started.
Here we eat and drink, but life isn't just that. How can I put it? We're like birds in a cage.
The crisis in the Middle East forced the migrants to use their special skills. This was the case for members of the alternative rock band Keves Dawi, who fled Syria for Lebanon in 2013 after one band member was killed. Now they are on an unexpected exile tour in Europe, hoping to find a new home. Many of the new migrants are educated, well organized, and use the internet and social media to achieve their goals. Munir, for example, a Tunisian migrant who decided to pedal all the way from Russia to Norway along with a group of immigrants.
Navigate in the internet, and some research say that Norway has open border here in the north between Russia and Norway.
Of course, not everyone was lucky. Around 5,200 people died on their journey to Europe, at least 3,000 of them in the Mediterranean Sea. Perhaps the strongest picture this year was that of young Alen Kurdi, a Syrian toddler whose body washed onto the Turkish shore. And as for Reem, the young Palestinian who cried in front of the German Chancellor, the Bild newspaper reported this week that her residency status was cleared by the German Immigration Office. She can therefore stay at least until 2017.
Yes, and with me right now here in the studio is Dani Ayalon, former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister. Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Lucy.
For joining me. And Ur Shapira, I-24 News correspondent.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for joining me. Gentlemen, I want to talk with you, and we saw that I think that each and every edition this year we spoke about the migrants. We spoke about the migrant crisis. If it's the Syrian crisis that will lead to more developments in the Middle East, in Europe also, and maybe that was also the year of the European, let's say, act of sympathy, but it's not.
Well, Lucy, I think that 2015 was a very significant year for Europe, and I believe that the impact of the events may resonate for a long time for the future of this continent. And of course, the migrant was looming very, very big over everything. You know, we know it's a very humanitarian, it's a personal difficulty, but for Europe it creates major problems for the economy and also for the politics. And this could really have a European community which is very much descending, especially between Germany, who wants the migrants because they need labor, and France and the other countries which do not want the migrants because they have overpopulation of migrants and they are not short of labor. So I believe that the migrant is not just an economic, it will create internal political problem in Europe, and that could be a beginning of very, very strenuous relations within the European Union.
You know, but we're talking about a crisis that maybe started with the Syrian crisis, with the Syrian civil war. And maybe this year we saw the hypocrisy of Europe, the hypocrisy of the Western world, that only when it knocked on the doors of Europe, only when terror knocked on the doors of Europe, only when these migrants knocked on the door of Europe, Europe woke up and said, you know what? Oh, maybe we need to start dealing with the 300,000 or 250,000 people that were massacred in Syria.
I don't know about hypocrisy. I think Europe was unprepared for this huge wave of migrants, and I think every country had different interests. Of course, Germany, which received over 1 million migrants this year. On the other hand, Hungary, which tried with all the forces to stop this wave of migrants.
You know, I want to talk a little bit about the hypocrisy of Europe. You know, we saw the parade in the Champs-Élysées. We saw the world just going up and just shouting against the terror in Europe. What about the almost 300 men, women, children that were massacred in the Middle East and nobody spoke about?
That, Lucy, that really put a mirror in the face of all the Europeans who are talking all the time, you know, in a very, high ground way, actually lecturing to everyone else to keep human rights. But when it comes to them, we see that they turn the other way and only act as their interests command them. But the problem is that the European interests are not the same. So if the vision of the EU was to create United States of Europe, like the United States of America, this is not the case, and we see more and more divisions. And I'm afraid that 2015 will be marked as the year of beginning of the cracks of the Union, because as I mentioned, I believe the politics will also make a big rift. Luckily for France, Le Pen's party did not win in the regional elections, but that if more refugees will come, this could easily be the case, and with this, then it's inevitable to have a clash between France, Germany, Hungary, Poland, the United Kingdom. You know, they are going to have in 2 years from now a referendum whether to stay in the EU, you know, with the Eurozone or not. So there's a lot of pressure on Europe, and this is before the economy, you know, with the virtual collapse of Greece and the Eurozone pressure. and, of course, the terror.
Let's talk a little bit about the culture, the society that is about to change in Europe with the influx of migrants. People are coming from different culture, from different religion. Of course, we are seeing the rising of the right now in, in Europe. This could affect the way of the geopolitical situation or the political map that Europe right now will face with.
Correct. We saw some very concerning phenomena like Pegida movement in Germany, rallies of thousands of people, xenophobia. But on the other hand, we saw some really nice gestures. For example, the thousands of volunteers who came out and actually supported the migrants. So I think it's a matter of time that Europe will have to digest the new situation.
To digest the new situation and, of course, to digest the culture.
Exactly, the culture. And I believe that most of the Europeans fear for the identity and the culture of Europe. You see, the problem in Europe, by and large, is that they have a very low birth rate. And with a very low birth rate of the, let's say, of the old Europeans, with an influx of migrants, that could really change the demography and can change the culture as well. So this is something that they really are debating now.
Yes, gentlemen, thank you very much for this. We will just